The Los Angeles Clippers have been eliminated by the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, one of the biggest factors at play here is the fact that the Clippers were playing without Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi was playing, this series probably looks a lot different. This has resulted in Paul George having to shoulder the majority of the load for this team and being thrust even more into the limelight throughout this playoff series. In this video, I want to take a look at his performance and find out if Paul George truly deserves the amount of criticism that has been thrown at him over the course of the past year or so. Before we get into this video, if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you enjoy this video. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers and I'm posting NBA content almost every single day. So if you love the NBA, please consider subscribing. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get right into the video. So if you're an NBA fan, you're no stranger to the Paul George slander that constantly gets thrown around after every time he has a bad game. Last year, he was largely blamed for the Los Angeles Clippers' second-round exit after they blew a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets in the playoff bubble. This year, as far as the regular season goes, Paul George did a fantastic job. He put up 23 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. He shot 47% from the field, 41% from 3, 87% from the line. From a purely raw numbers perspective, he had a perfectly fine year, actually getting selected to All-NBA. In my opinion, the most important thing was that he improved in essentially every major statistical category since his first season in LA. Now, he still wasn't the MVP and DPOY finalist that he was in OKC, but he still put up some very respectable numbers this year. Now, the regular season is great, but I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter how great you are in the regular season if you shrink in the playoffs. So how did PG-13 perform in the playoffs this season? Well, he actually did great. He actually played significantly better in the postseason this year than he did in the regular season. He put up 27 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. This was the big difference between what we saw from Paul George last year. Last year, Paul George got worse in the playoffs. He looked timid on the court, he looked unsure of what he was supposed to be doing, and he just refused to exploit the other team's weaknesses. This year, he looked aggressive. He attacked the other team's worst defenders, he used his crafty finishing ability to get whatever shot he wanted, he played solid defense, and he got rebounds. People seem to forget how good of a ball handler Paul George is. He is really, really good at creating space off the dribble, and we actually got to see that from him in the playoffs this year, even though they didn't get as far as I know they probably hoped. He was hitting step backs, splitting defenders, and he was starting to look like the MVP caliber player that we saw in OKC. Now, as far as the Phoenix series goes, just how good was he? Well, this is where things get a little bit tricky. Now, keep in mind, he was without Kawhi Leonard for the entire Western Conference Finals. So he was made to be the first option as opposed to the second option behind Kawhi. So in the conference finals, he put up 28.7 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. Those are really, really great numbers. His efficiency was a bit questionable though. Over the 6-game series, he shot 42% from the field, 29% from 3, and 77% from the line. That's an effective field goal percentage of 48%, which, if you're not familiar with effective field goal percentage, 48% is really, really, really bad. But can you really blame him? He was without Kawhi Leonard, and even though his teammates were playing really well in this series, he was still the guy that was expected to take and make the big shots. He still had a great series. So what's the verdict? Is he overhated or overrated? In my personal opinion, the hate has gone a little bit too far. He came back an entirely different player this year after rightfully getting criticized and slandered into oblivion last year. Now he's shown what he's capable of. I'm not going to knock him for some suboptimal shooting percentages against one of the best teams in the entire NBA while he was without Kawhi Leonard. At the end of the day, he gave it his all and left everything on the court, which is more than I can say about his performance last year. He gave it everything he could, and his team was just outmatched without Kawhi Leonard. So what do you think? Do you think that Paul George is overhated or overrated? Leave a comment below, and as always, if you're new and you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video.